Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Rashne Pardiwala, a JN Tata Scholar of 1995. I was awarded the scholarship to pursue a master's in conservation biology from the University of Edinburgh. I went on to complete my PhD in ecology with a specialization in climate change. And in 2002, I returned to India to establish the Center for Environmental Research and Education, CERE. I will be your host for this evening. I am truly honored. And on behalf of the JN Tata Endowment, it gives me great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this first ever get-together of JN Tata scholars from across the world. Thank you so much for having made the effort to be here. It is so wonderful to see so many JN Tata scholars in this room for this dinner. I would now like to invite Dr. Modi, advisor to the JN Tata Endowment, to give the opening address. Dr. Modi, please.
Mr. Tata and distinguished guests, the large number of JN Tata scholars here today are very special subject experts and other guests who are here. It is really a wonderful occasion to be here with you today and have as many as almost 160 scholars joining us in this very special celebrations. And what is even more interesting, out of that 160 figure, as many as 12 scholars have come in from abroad just to be with us for this function. I have been, over the years, doing my best to locate as many scholars as possible, because unfortunately the endowment had lost touch with a large number of scholars. But now we have been able to get in touch with many of you. Some of you who are here, and I must also mention that large number of scholars from abroad are here in spirit, as they have said, and certainly would like to see the visual of this wonderful program that we have before us. It is fitting that at the close of the 175th birth anniversary of Mr. Jamsetji Tata, we, the endowment and the JN Tata scholars, who were part of his first benefaction established in 1892, should be gathered here today. Many of you would know that the first selection of a JN Tata scholar was a lady doctor, Dr. Freni Kama, a gynecologist, and this was followed by a huge stream of scholars who went into all fields and professions. Today, the endowment has a record of more than 4,700 scholars. And they are in fields as diverse as physiotherapy, conservation biology, advances in medical science, advances in the field of architecture, and so many other fields. We're really very proud to be able to facilitate the advancement of such young, dynamic persons. I'm particularly happy to have been able to locate our older scholars, many of whom we had lost contact with. Some of you will see them speaking to you in person, and it is a great pleasure to have them with us today. As the advisor of the JN Tata Endowment, it has really been not only a great learning experience, but also a very humbling experience. One learns a great deal from the scholars and their aspirations. One learns a great deal from the wonderful subject experts that we have with us. And of course, we are all here to honor the memory of Mr. Jamsetji Tata, who sowed the seed of this unique foundation, and that foundation has flowered, and we have all of you here today as part of the blooms which have grown. Thank you very much.
I now invite JN Tata scholar Dr. JJ Irani to share a few thoughts with us.
Thank you. Mr. Ratan Tata, Dr. Nawaz Modi, and all my other friends gathered here this evening. You know, occasions like this sends one down memory lane. And some of the things which I remembered you've already seen on the screen. And as far as my education is concerned, yes, I remember going with 4 other boys. I think Dr. Narlikar was in the previous batch. 4 of them. We went on one of the P&O liners, stopped at various places, finally finished up in Tilsbury. Dr. Pilu Besugar had already warned us that as soon as we get to England, it would be the start of the winter season there, because I think we traveled early October. And Sheffield is not like, I've been to Sheffield several times later, including last year. And I can only say that there has been a sea change in that place, because when we went in there were 135 steel-making units, large and small, no environmental control, spewing their smoke into the atmosphere. And from October onwards, the atmosphere used to be, in one simple word, smog. And you couldn't really see, if you went in a bus, you couldn't see much beyond the side of the road. It was just as well, in my opinion, because that encouraged us to stay indoors and study. And for those first 2 years, I studied, which was the studies supported by the endowment. And to this day, I don't know how much was paid for my tuition fee and for my boarding and lodging, because that was taken care of by Tata Limited in London. Captain Thompson was in charge. Mr. Saklatwala, Behram Saklatwala was the director in charge. And whenever I inquired about the cost, because I knew one day I would have to pay most of it back, they said, don't worry, we will take care of it directly. And besides that, they gave me a princely sum of £8 every month to take care of incidentals, including lunch. But since at that time lunch was 1 shilling at the university, and in the evenings fish and chips also were less than 1 shilling, and a small glass of beer was just 6 pence. £8 was quite adequate to take care of all these expenses. So it was an experience which I would certainly not suggest that any of you should go through, because times have changed. And I suppose it's for the better. But when one goes down memory lane, one remembers the things which we had to do for those first 2 years. The blessing of being a Tata scholar was that I just did not have to worry about where my next meal or my next tuition fee or my boarding and lodging expenses will come from. They were automatically taken care of from 18 Grosvenor Place, the headquarters of Tatas in London. So I'm certainly very grateful for those experiences. And my final word would be that because of my experiences, I induced my son, Zubin, who is happily also here, to become a Tata scholar. He had already had some scholarships from American universities when he went there. Didn't really need it, but I insisted that he should take some small gift, which my friend Ratan here, shall we say, also helped in him getting it. So he is officially a Tata scholar. But he paid back whatever was loaned to him within the first year itself. And so things have changed, but the thrill of being a Tata scholar certainly launched me on my career, and I have absolutely no regrets. God bless our founder for having thought of this very innovative scheme at that time. It's a pleasure to be here.
I now invite JN Tata Scholar of 1985, Dr. Zaver Bhujwalla, to share a few thoughts with us. Dr. Bhujwalla pursued a master's and a PhD degree in radiation biology from the University of London, UK, and is presently Professor of Radiology and Oncology from the prestigious Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, USA. Dr. Bhujwalla.
So, good evening, everyone, and it's a great privilege to be here today amongst all of you. So, I am a professor at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and my work is focused on using molecular and functional imaging to understand and treat cancer. And I received a JN Tata scholarship to pursue my education at the University of London a while ago, too long now to mention, but it's right up there. And so what I'd like to say in my couple of minutes is that when I heard of this get-together, I actually read up about Mr. JN Tata, and it is just inspiring to find out all his achievements and what a visionary he was. And in a sense, this meeting today is a meeting of two of his several great, thriving, living legacies. So it's this wonderful hotel he built, and then, of course, his endowment that has built the careers and accomplishments of the JN Tata scholars. And so what I would close with is just to say that of all the awards and honors I have received in my career, to be associated and to have a scholarship from an endowment that has the name of this extraordinary human being is, I think, for me, one of the greatest honors in my career. And thank you all very much.
I now invite JN Tata Scholar of 1957, Dr. Jayant Narlikar, to share a few thoughts with us. Dr. Narlikar is one of India's foremost astrophysicists and also the founder-director of the Inter-University Center of Astronomy and Astrophysics. Dr. Narlikar was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 1965 at the age of 26. and the Padma Vibhushan in the year 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jayant Narlikar.
Friends, as you saw from the film, there was a time when I was the most unpopular person amongst the Tata scholars because I had given my expense account, how much I had spent in a whole year, and that came out to 550 pounds as against 600 pounds, which was allowed by the Reserve Bank of India at that time, and probably more than that was spent by most Tata scholars, officially or unofficially, and they thought that Mrs. Vesugar was using my statistics to make them be more economical. Anyway, I have today many fond memories of Mrs. Vesugar. I will tell you one episode just to illustrate. Of course, you all know her, many of you know her, how she was and so on. She was very particular about how Tata scholars conducted themselves in England and when they go. And when I went to see her for first time for the interview, and later she gave many tips on how to behave and what not to do, what to avoid, and so forth. Now, one of the things which she told me, I forgot. So what happened when I went to see her next time, she immediately blew up saying, "Don't you remember what I tell you?" So I couldn't make out what it was referring to. And then she said, I had told you that when you wear a full sleeve shirt, you must have a tie. You should not come without a tie. And that is unfortunately what I had done when I had called on her this second time. So she said, go immediately and put a tie on. So I came from Banaras, not from Mumbai, so I didn't know where to go and buy a tie. So it so happened, luckily, that the tailor from Dean and Sons, who were making our jacket, trousers, suits, etc. for Tata scholars, he was around in her office, so she called him and said, take this young man to your shop, select a tie and bring him back. So he immediately took me to the shop and we selected a tie. I said, I don't know how to tie a tie, so you better do it yourself. So he tied the tie around me properly, and then I came back. By then she had mellowed and was in a better mood, and we had a nice chat afterwards. But one thing I remembered next, never to break that rule whenever I called on her. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you and remember some of those nice and not so nice experiences. They all look nice from a distance now, but at that time some of them were very troublesome and one worried what's going to happen. But now everything has happened, and in retrospect, we thank the organization, the JN Tata Endowment, for looking after so well in England while we were away from our homes in India. So thank you very much once again.
I now invite JN Tata scholar Dr. Ranganathan to share a few thoughts with us. Professor Ranganathan has contributed immensely to the growth of material science in the country and is the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ministry of Steel. Dr. Ranganathan.
Sri Ratan Tata and the Tata leadership and fellow Tata scholars. Life is actually made up of meetings, memorable meetings. And today, in my view, it's a magical meeting for me. Just now, a reference was made by the person who introduced me to the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ministry of Steel. I was given actually a Lifetime Achievement Award in 3 years in quick succession. At that time, I used to remember Danny Day-Lewis, when he received the Best Actor Award, Oscar Award, he said he has had more than his measure of good fortune. I felt I also had the measure of good fortune receiving those awards. On further reflection, I felt that is not the case. Those awards came because I feel I was selected for the JN Tata Endowment Scholarship in 1962. That set the pace for my further progress in life. So I'd like to acknowledge my great debt of gratitude. And having worked in the institute, I've studied the life of JN Tata and also many of the associated activities of JN Tata. To me, this endowment scheme is one of the best that could be conceived of. Because JN Tata, in a visionary step, said, you must lift the best and the brightest. Not only those who are in need, but the best and brightest. He also said, you must have education, higher education as the main thing. If necessary, go abroad. That is how I went abroad. But most importantly, he made it a loan scholarship. Even though we call it a scholarship, he made the people repay. I repaid, and I felt this is the way by which it can be kept going. Today, when there is so much discussion about subsidies and cross-subsidizing and so on, it is a wonderful pioneering invention on the part of JN Tata. I also feel, having studied history a little bit more, this was a precursor to the Indian Institute of Science. Having started with this nucleus of an idea of education, higher education, he said, we'll establish the institute. And I'm working at the institute to which I'm devoted. I must recall Piroja Visugar, as some of my predecessors have done. I met her in 1962, and I remember meeting her. Today's invitation said, you must come in formal attire. I was selected from Kadalur. I had no idea of what formal attire means. I went to her, and she said, I will get you attired. She ordered a suit for me, a jacket for me, shoes and ties and so on. I was properly prepared for my journey to Cambridge. This was very, very important. But she equipped me not only for the social circumstances at Cambridge, but also for the intellectual company there. She told me that there is a brilliant person by name JJ Narlikar there. You must go and meet him. I will never forget that advice, and I feel it has been a wonderful experience to meet him. I must also here refer to one of the most distinguished Tata scholars, Partha Dasgupta. We were both scholars in the same year, 1962. We met actually in Piroja Visugar's office the same day, interviewed one after the other. We traveled by the same ship. In fact, Piroja Visugar also equipped me with a cabin box to travel by that ship. And Partha and I became excellent friends. And I could see that he's opened the way not only for a passage to England, but a whole world of Tata scholars. They all accepted me. It's like having a passport. You're a Tata scholar, everybody accepts you. So this passage to England was important. I'm glad that this party is taking place. I hope this becomes an annual event. I would like to remind you that one of the most pleasant meetings I had in Cambridge times was to go to London for the annual Christmas party held by the Tata scholars. With reference to Saklatwala, so we're all invited. Our train fare was paid. We enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. The 62 and 63 were the first 2 years when I participated in those meetings. And it became an invisible college in meeting all the Tata scholars. But 64 was very special. I met another Tata scholar, one Sucharita Desiraju, who had come from Bombay to study mathematics typos in Cambridge. And then, of course, I wanted to marry her, and her grandfather recommended that since I have a PhD from Cambridge University, I'm okay. Now that I heard Dr. Narlikar state that Radhakrishnan recommended him for the Tata Endowment scholarship, it's even possible, he might have said, after all, he's also a Tata scholar, so we can accept him. So I'm very grateful that this endowment gave me not only a passage to England, but also a passage, a partner in life. I want to tell you that I have been associated with the Tata Institute from 1960 onwards, practically without any break, even though I was away in Benares for a few years, 55 years, and I'm still continuing to work there. It's an extraordinary thing. And then 10 years ago, I was invited to join the National Institute of Advanced Studies, which was founded by JN Tata. The institute stands for science, while to a large extent, National Institute of Advanced Studies stands for humanities. So there, I enlarged my thing. And Dr. Irani, whom I met in Sheffield, and his colleagues in Tata Steel, encouraged us to write a book on the legendary wood steel. This became a twin centenary publication supported by Tata Steel. My co-author is also, by happy coincidence, right here, Shada Srinivasan, a Tata scholar. I'm happy to say this book on legendary wood steel, in principle, pre-shadows the fantastic achievements of Tata Steel today. In 300 BC, we prepared the molten steel for the first time in the whole world. It's an extraordinary journey, and I'm very happy to have this here. Very often people say that people took the road less traveled, and that is how they prospered. In my case, I feel the road has chosen me, and that road is nothing less than the vision of JN Tata, an extraordinary, remarkable individual who illumined the 19th century and the 20th century and continues to inspire us in this 21st century. It's a wonderful thing, a privileged thing to share this evening with all the Tata scholars here. 6 decades of Tata scholars or more are present here. It's a fantastic collection of intellectual and leadership qualities here in this hall, the crystal ball. They sparkle better than and brighter than all the crystals we see around here. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, some of us scholars have captured our journeys in the form of a personally signed narrative on how the scholarship has impacted our lives both personally and professionally. We have compiled these narratives in the form of a book entitled Memoirs of Gratitude. On behalf of all JN Tata scholars, past and present, those who are in this room and those who could not join us for this get-together, it would be a matter of great honor and pride for us to present this symbolic token of our appreciation and gratitude to the endowment to Mr. Ratan Tata. Mr. Tata, we would be truly inspired if you could please join us on stage and allow us this opportunity to give you this very small token of our appreciation and gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Tata. I now invite JN Tata scholars, Ms. Ashraf Vishram, Ms. Raina Mehta, Mr. Neville Shroff, Dr. Kiran Sathe, Ms. Benaifa Nagwaswala, and Dr. Anil Palwe to present the book to Mr. Tata. I now invite Dr. Shujauddin Changi, JN Tata Scholar of 2007, to share a few thoughts with us. Dr. Changi completed his master's in chemical engineering from MIT and his PhD from the University of Michigan, and is presently working as a research scientist in the R&D department of Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals, USA. Dr. Changi.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Being a Tata Scholar has impacted my life drastically and has taught me several lessons, and some of which I would like to share with you out here. I would actually like to share a story which I remember based on our face-to-face interaction on day one with Dr. Modi and the interview team. When I went to the interview, having been selected at MIT, I remember the first question that they asked me. It was a very simple question. They asked me to describe myself in a few sentences, and I completely blanked out at the broad context of this question. Ironically, 8 years from that incident, I'm again on the stage, and they have given me the responsibility to talk something about myself, and clearly you can see that the effect of that interview has completely changed my personality, and now I don't hesitate to talk for 2 minutes or maybe an hour. But I will not take that much time. So reflecting back on that day, I would like to share with you a couple of lessons which got ingrained in my brain. The reason why I blanked out was because I was trying to ace the interview on the very first question and impress the interviewers. I wanted a perfect response for my answer, and I learned the first lesson that in life, being a stickler does not necessarily render success all the time. Sometimes you just do not have the time and the resources to complete a task 100%. And I've learned to live with it, but give more than 100% effort and try to get done in the given amount of time to an almost perfect task. And that's the principle I've used throughout my PhD, and it also applies in my day-to-day life, especially in the professional world. Also continuing my story, what happened next after I blanked out was that Dr. Modi and our colleague asked me to relax and then start again. This time I took a different approach in the sense that I wanted to have an informal conversation and enjoy rather than having the stress of impressing the interviewers. Therefore, the second lesson that I took home that day was that life gives you a second chance to succeed. It just depends on you, whether you have to be attentive in looking for the second opportunity and grab it and capitalize on it when it makes its form. Based on this, my definition of a Tata Scholar is that you continue learning with every new experience, even though you may be the best in your own area. JN Tata Endowment has been the result of the vision of a great pioneer and philanthropist who have funded the education of countless number of students and allowed them to pursue education with the best possible infrastructure. My dad's word at that time, who introduced me to apply for the scholarship, were that, son, becoming a Tata Scholar is not merely about money. It is more about being accepted to a family which comprises of elite industrialists and academicians. And I'm very fortunate, thanks to everyone out here, to be a part of that pool. The Tata Scholarship was one of the resources which allowed me to fulfill my dream to go and study to some of the best universities across the globe and develop a diverse culture, which has positively boosted my personality. Where the Tata Foundation still continues to impact my life is that it allows me to keep in touch with its caregivers and some fellow scholars. Gatherings like this are an excellent opportunity to develop network, both at the personal and professional levels. I'm still in touch with Dr. Modi and her staff, who make me feel welcome and always give me a reason to come visit them whenever I'm in the country. As I conclude, I would like to humbly thank all the Tata Endowment Group for letting me be a part of you. Especially, I'm honored to be attending this event and given the opportunity to speak on this platform. Finally, I thank you all for listening to me patiently. Have a good evening.
I would now like to invite JN Tata Scholar of 1970, Dr. Bijendra Jain, to address us. Dr. Jain pursued his master's and his PhD in electrical engineering from the State University of New York and returned to India to join IIT Delhi as a professor of computer science. Today, Dr. Jain is the Vice Chancellor of BITS Pilani, Rajasthan. Dr. Jain.
So good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank JN Tata Endowment and various colleagues out there for organizing this event and affording us an opportunity to meet with other scholars, both who are older than us as well as those who are younger to us. It was in 1970, about the time when I was graduating from IIT Kanpur, that my former professor, Professor Vishwanathan, who was also a JN Tata scholar, suggested to me that I should apply for the scholarship, even though I had a full scholarship to attend Stony Brook. His point was that it was not for the money that you should be applying, it was for the recognition that JN Tata scholarship affords us scholars. And you can very well imagine, I very proudly carry the label JN Tata Scholar every time I print my CV for anybody to look at. And of course, within 4.5 years, at the age of 25, I completed my PhD from Stony Brook, and within a week returned to India to join IIT Delhi, Department of Computer Science. And I have never looked back. I've spent 35 years at IIT Delhi building the Department of Computer Science as well as contributing to the growth of IIT Delhi. There is one thing that I'm so very exceptionally proud about, and that is that it gave us the confidence to be able to collaborate with other researchers and academics from other Indian institutions. And we built and launched India's first data network called ERNet. It was in January 89 that the first email left the shores of India and made India the 14th country in the world to be part of the internet. We are so very proud of what we did together with our students. I'm so very grateful to the Tata Endowment for having made all this possible for us to pursue a higher degree abroad. But I guess at the back of one's mind, there was always this thing that these scholars will someday return to India and do certain things good for the country and good for the countrymen. Thank you very much.
It is now my pleasure to announce another initiative conceptualized by a few of my fellow scholars to contribute towards carrying forward the philanthropic legacy of Mr. Jamsetji Tata. This initiative is called Carry It Forward, and through this initiative, we wish to urge every fellow JN Tata scholar to offer assistance in the form of time, acquired knowledge, expertise to anyone in need. And when you do so, please pass on this card to the individual you help and request that person to help someone else in turn, and thereby creating a chain of human generosity. We would like to take this opportunity to present the first Carry It Forward card to our next speaker, Dr. Ramaswami Balasubramaniam. And I request my fellow scholar, Ms. Ashraf Vishram, to do the honors, please. Dr. Balasubrahmanyam, a JN Tata scholar of 2009, is a development activist who is a physician by qualification. After completing his MBBS and his MPhil from BITS Pilani, he pursued a master's degree in public administration from Harvard University, and today is an advisory member of various organizations working in the fields of health and education in the country.
Good evening, Mr. Ratan Tata, fellow JN Tata scholars. This evening is indeed overwhelming to be in the company of such extraordinary people. Development activism looks easy. Now, being an activist, I've been beaten up, arrested, I've had all my fun. But that seemed easy. Coming to Bombay was my first challenge because I live in the forests of India. Most of my life, the last 3 decades, has been in the company of indigenous tribals, where I've made my home, so building hospitals and schools for them. 5-6 years ago, in line with what Vivekananda speaks about of not occupying the center stage for too long, I decided to fade away. And I thought I was fading away when I got a letter from Harvard announcing that they had selected me to be a Mason Fellow there and do a master's. That was 2008. What Harvard didn't say, what Harvard didn't tell me was a fellowship, I had to pay money for them. It is not about they giving me money, and Harvard never gives anything free. And I realized that it's going to cost me $80,000. Having lived in the forest, not having taken a single rupee as a salary, I was totally lost. I didn't know what to do. And I was wanting to turn down that offer when an extraordinary human being, Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, the former Chief Justice of India, he would always joke and tell me the day he retired from his position of Chief Justice, he called me and told me, remember, I'm no longer the Chief Justice of India, I can't keep you out of jail anymore. And I went to him and said, this is the offer I have, what do I do? I don't think I can take it, I don't have $1, leave alone $80,000. He told me, when you started this organization when you were 19, you had no money with you. Today you've built an institution and I'm sure you'll find a way out. But I can leave you with one parting advice. I can give you a lakh of rupees, but along with a lakh of rupees, I can possibly tell you that there's an endowment somewhere in Bombay, which you may want to apply to. And that's how I got to know the JN Tata Endowment. But by then, the admission date had gone by, and I couldn't take the offer letter from Harvard. But things have a way of working. And I always believe Swami Vivekananda has got a magical way of working. And I received a letter from Harvard saying, considering my plight, they decided to defer my admission by a year. That gave me hope, and I made my application to Tata Endowment, again believing that they wouldn't want to invest on me, an unknown, insignificant man living in a forest. How would they even think I would give back to society the way normal Tata scholars give back? But I was pleasantly surprised. And to me, it's again a second overwhelming moment, because I always believed the meeting of Tata and Swami Vivekananda on the Empress of India as they were journeying together was very significant for this country. And I believe that I, being fortunate enough to get the scholarship, was the second way I look at the significance for me personally. That changed my life. I did go to Harvard. I do teach now at the Kennedy School a little bit. I teach at Cornell. And I suddenly realized that there's so much that being at Harvard has opened the world for me, or at least opened the world to me also. And that wouldn't have happened but for the Tata Scholarship. Today I'm fortunate to share lessons of leadership not from the business schools, but I take lessons of leadership from indigenous tribal chieftains, the way they have run their lives, what I have studied and understood from them, and I teach it around the world. And I think I, in a sense, now understand what the legacy of Tata is. The legacy of Tata is not just to build human and social capital in building all of us, but the legacy of Tata is to create a world which we can all be proud about, a world where we can all truly make a difference. And today, most of my work is to see whether we can create that world where global citizenship is not just a fashionable fad, but a way of life. And I think the Tatas in every way are showing the way, and we, the Tata scholars, being around the world, have this unique and powerful opportunity, not just to repay the scholarship, but I think to repay something more than that, repay our debt of gratitude by living the message of making the world a better place. Thank you so much.
I would now like to invite Dr. Mukund Rajan, member of the Group Executive Council, and brand custodian and Chief Ethics Officer of Tata Sons, without whom this event would not have been possible, to deliver the closing address. Dr. Mukund Rajan.
Thank you very much, Roshni. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful evening, and thank you all so much for making it memorable. It is a great pleasure for all of us at the JN Tata Endowment and the Tata Group to see the vision of our founder realized through your many achievements and contributions to the country and to society at large. I think this lasting legacy of Jamsetji Tata has in turn led to the creation of many legacies through your rich experiences, and we were honored to hear the recollection of some of your stories today. Indeed, one of the primary objectives behind this evening's get-together was to gather all of you on one platform to celebrate the man, Jamsetji Tata, and his vision, and to collaborate to carry his legacy forward by inspiring the young minds of current and future generations that will follow in your footsteps. Your enthusiasm today encourages us greatly, and we would love to hear from you, suggestions, exchanges of ideas, collaborations, and much more. Last month, all of us felt truly privileged and honored by the gesture of the Indian Prime Minister and the Government of India in issuing commemorative coins to mark the 175th birth anniversary of Jamsetji Tata. Jamsetji Tata is the first Indian industrialist to be so honored. And to share this honor with all the JN Tata scholars present in this room today, we are very happy to present each of you with these coins as a keepsake. So when you leave, please collect these from the registration desk. We hope you've had a great evening meeting your fellow scholars. And as Dr. Irani mentioned right at the beginning, going down memory lane together. We truly hope you will continue to engage and stay in touch with the JN Tata Endowment and help create many more lasting legacies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of a truly wonderful evening. And on behalf of the entire JN Tata Endowment, we thank you for attending this get-together. We hope you've taken this opportunity to get to know one another better. And as Dr. Rajan mentioned, we do hope you continue staying in touch with the endowment and to really help the endowment grow from strength to strength. And last but not the least, thank you so much for being an attentive audience. And I can finally say, it's easier being an ecologist than a host for such an august gathering. Thank you so much. Good night. Have a wonderful evening.